Hey guys, well today we're going to take a look at the life of a guy named Lucius Quintus Cincinnatus Lamar. Come along with us, let's go explore. LQC Lamar was born on September 17th, 1825 in Eatonton, Georgia. He led quite an interesting life, and if you want to learn anything about him, you need to come here to the LQC Lamar House Museum in Oxford, Mississippi. He was somewhat controversial in his public service, but we'll get to that in just a sec. If you like this kind of content, why don't you boop that like button and maybe even subscribe. Lamar moved to Oxford, Mississippi to establish his law practice. In 1856, he was elected to the United States House of Representatives and served there until January of 1861. I think this place does a great job of giving you a pretty good education about slavery and why it came to be and its impact. Lamar became a very important Southern representative. His speeches gave him a lot of political pull in the House and a whole lot of prestige here in Mississippi. I find him interesting because before the war he was such a fire-eating Democrat, saying things like, "Mr. Chairman, any proposition which has for its object the advancement of progress of Southern institutions by equitable means will always commend itself to my cordial approval. With me, I confess that the promotion of Southern interests is second in importance only to the preservation of Southern honor." No, this is not a video to promote some kind of lost cause ideology. Stay with me just a little longer. I just want you to get a good idea of the man he was and the man he became. Here's a quote from another speech. "From the bottom of my heart, I believe that your object is to drive us to disunion. I am devoted to the Constitution of the Union, and so long as this republic is a great tolerant republic, throwing its loving arms around both sections of the country, I, for one, will bestow every talent which God has given me for its promotion and its glory. When it is violated, persistently violated, when its spirit is no longer observed upon this floor, I war upon your government. I raise then the banner of secession, and I will fight under it as long as the blood flows and ebbs in my veins." From that, surely you get the idea. He resigned his seat in the United States Congress and, of course, helped Mississippi draft its ordinance of secession. Here's the ordinance as displayed here at the museum. Also, they have the Declaration of Causes, which they say induce and justify the secession of Mississippi from the federal union. I'm not sure if Mr. Lamar helped write that or not. LQC Lamar joined his law partner Christopher Mott to raise Mississippi's 1st Regiment. In May, they presented for service the 19th Mississippi Infantry, with 10 companies and 500 men. In July of 1861, he suffered a stroke. After recovering somewhat, he served on the staff of his wife's cousin, James Longstreet, and then became the Confederate minister to Russia. After the Civil War, he taught at the University of Mississippi for a bit. We're going to leave the Lamar House Museum now and make our way to the cemetery. If you'll come to the corner of 16th and Jefferson in Oxford and just turn around, you can make your way straight to his grave. He returned to the United States House of Representatives in 1873. He was the first Mississippi Democrat elected to the House since the end of the Civil War. He expressed to his wife concern that he could not effectively lead or represent Mississippians in the House because, well, he had been sure that secession was the right thing to do, and look at all the pain and suffering that had caused. Mr. Lamar gave a eulogy on the House floor as a freshman representative in 1874. He eulogized Senator Charles Sumner of Massachusetts. Sumner was hated by most Southerners because of his opposition to slavery, and he had vehemently denounced slaveholders. In 1856, Sumner had been caned on the Senate floor by Senator Preston Brooks of South Carolina. Lamar's eulogy praised Sumner's desire for unity between the North and the South, and it was a sensation in D.C., but many in the South felt it a betrayal. In 1876, Lamar was elected to the Senate again and acted in opposition to his party when he agreed to the findings of an election commission that gave the presidency to Republican Rutherford Hayes. Lamar thought this would help prevent another sectional controversy that might cause more bloodshed. Lamar kept his Senate seat until 1885, when he resigned to become the Secretary of the Interior in President Grover Cleveland's cabinet. This is President Cleveland's cabinet, and that is Lamar in the bottom right-hand corner. In December of 1887, President Cleveland nominated Lamar to be an Associate Justice on the United States Supreme Court. The Senate confirmed Lamar by a vote of 32 to 28. He was the first justice from the South to be confirmed on the Supreme Court after the Civil War. Certainly, this confirmation was controversial. He served on the Supreme Court until his death in January of 1893. He is the only Mississippian to ever serve on the United States Supreme Court, and one of only a handful of Americans that have served in all three branches of the federal government. It's crazy for me to consider the turnaround he made in his professional political career. That turnaround seemed to start with Sumner's eulogy while he served in the House, and he continued to vote his conscience in the Senate, even though it might contradict the wishes of his political party and perhaps even Mississippians back home. Of course, he was known as a great orator, but also he was known to be the definition of a statesman. I suppose it was this ability as a statesman that caused him to be represented in John F. Kennedy's Profiles in Courage. Perhaps as a Mississippian, I want to believe his turnaround was legit and not just one of political expediency, but it sure seems to have worked. I hope you've enjoyed learning a little bit about LQC Lamar today, and I can't stress to you enough how you need to come by and visit the Lamar House Museum when you're in Oxford for a ball game, especially if you want to learn a little bit about the history of slavery and the Civil War in Mississippi and the South during the 1800s. Thank you.